Life of a young boss, I'ma let you know what you wanna know. My closet full of clothes, fast I don't just cruise, pockets full like Terry Crews.
My father was very abusive, very, very abusive, okay? And I'm a big guy. My father is a big man. And I was a kid, my earliest memory of my father was him knocking my mother out. Knocking her out in her face. And I was like, oh man, that is wild. I mean, when you look at, you know, because little boys, they just look at men and it's just like, oh, whoa, you know, it's the biggest, strongest thing you've ever seen. And you're like, my goodness, it's like Godzilla in your living room, you know? And he's hitting my mother. So I knew, okay, I don't want to get hit. So what he says goes. And he did this for years. For years. He was an intimidator. And it was always, I see his big forearms, his big hands. He stomped through the house, boom, boom, boom. And it's like, whoa, here he comes. We would run. I mean, I literally would run. When I heard him coming, we knew his car would pull up, the doors would close, we'd run. And then he'd come find us, and he's like, oh no, what we do? And he was mean, really mean. So one day I'm an adult. Now he's the reason, one of the reasons why I wanted to be fit. Because I always felt I needed to protect myself. And I felt so helpless when I was a kid that I said, I will never be that helpless, ever. So I said, I gotta get strong. Well, I'm a grown man. I played in the NFL and the whole thing. And this is years later. I've been married for a little while. And I go home, and me and my wife are out in Detroit just going to dinner. And I find out, and one thing I told my father before I brought my family back home, we call this a Christmas from hell. I said, don't you do anything in front of my kids that you'll regret, okay? Because I'm bringing my kids into this house now. And he was like, I ain't gonna do nothing. I ain't got no problem. I don't care. I ain't doing nothing. I was like, okay. So I do it. I bring the kids home. Everybody's there. The kids are at the house. I get a call. They're like, oh my God. Terry, this is my aunt. She's like, we're taking the kids over to my house. Your father beat your mom in front of the kids. Man, dude, just the memory. I was like, man, that's the one thing I didn't want to have my kids go through. And you gonna mess it up right now? I said, okay. I said, everybody, get everybody out the house. Take them over. Get him out the house. I called my brother. I said, we're going over there. We're going to deal with him right now. We got over there. He had the nerve to still be there. I said, okay, you know what? I'm a grown man now. Now, I said, hit me. In fact, boom, I'm hitting you. How do you like it? Me and my brother beat my father for a few hours. And you know what? I thought I would feel better. And let me tell you, I thought, finally, how does it feel? How does it feel? He's on the ground crying in a ball. I felt nothing. I felt useless. I felt like, man, this didn't do anything. This didn't help nothing. Now we're all messed up. Sitting there, all messed up. And let me tell you, man, I did not feel 1 ounce of satisfaction. I thought it was going to be perfect. And it was nothing. Now let me flash forward, go forward. A few years later, while I was doing recovery, and I was working on myself, and I remember just a voice came to me. He said, you got to talk to your father. And you got to tell him. You got to tell him the truth. Because the truth is, I would not be here if it wasn't for him. And I said, you got to thank him for that. I was like, oh man, I can't do that. I can't do, that's crazy. I mean, I'm too, but look what he did. It don't matter. Find one thing that you can thank him for. And I called him up and I said, you know what? And it hit me, and then all of a sudden the words just came out for real. I said, I see this, that if I could choose my parents, I'd choose you. Because I would not be here. There's no way I could exist without you. And the thing is, what you got to understand is that you don't come from your parents. You come through them. You come through them. That means any junk, you can leave. That's not you. If your daddy was in jail, you didn't come from jail. You came through him. And it hit me. And I realized all that junk I didn't have to take. I don't have to have that be part of my past. And let me tell you, he cried. He cried. He cried. He said, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. And let me tell you, what the punches couldn't do, the love did. I sat there and I held him and I hugged him. We hugged for about 15 minutes. It was the most beautiful, beautiful reconciliation that I could ever remember. And I wrote about it in the book. But it blew me away, the power. See, because people think what strength is. I'm trying to tell you, strength is not MMA. Strength is not how many tattoos, and I like tattoos. But strength is not the look. Strength is the hug. Strength is the humility of using that to help. Strength is you being gentle with your wife and your kids. Strength is when you say, I'm sorry for hurting you. Strength is when you can go to your brother and say, man, if I offended you, my bad. I'm sorry. Let me tell you, it had nothing to do with that. All this, who you can beat up and how strong you are. But that's nothing. And I realized what true strength was at that moment. And I said, I can't go back. These eggs keep getting cracked, man. I got like a whole dozen. Just sit there cracked. But I'm telling you, you are good.
I get paid for when I speak. 410 you can't see. Floors heat, I feel like way. House big, I got it made. Yeah, I'm eating, get a plate. Couple thousand on my plate. Diamonds wet just like a pool. Going fast, I don't just cruise. Pockets swole like Terry Crews.